They told me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. They were right, just not in the way they thought. My name is Michael, 42 years old, senior logistics coordinator for a mid-sized pharmaceutical distributor. The kind of job where people's eyes glaze over when you explain what you do. Good salary, stable, boring maybe, but that's not what this is about. 5 days before my wedding, I found her second phone. It wasn't dramatic, no movie scene, no confrontation music building in the background. I was looking for the charger from my laptop. Jennifer's side of the apartment, the drawer that supposedly held just cables and old receipts. The phone was at the bottom. Cheap Android. Still had 18% battery. I knew what it was before I even turned it on. You know how you just... No password. She didn't think she needed one. The messages loaded immediately. 3 months of them. His name was Devin, 28 years old from what I could piece together. Personal trainer at the gym she'd joined back in March. The gym membership, she said, was for us, for the wedding photos. I sat on the edge of the bed for maybe 20 minutes. The phone in my hand felt heavier than it should have. Then I put it back. Exactly where I found it. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't scream. I didn't break things. I didn't call her parents. I didn't post anything online. I didn't even cry. I just went to work the next morning, smiled at her over breakfast, kissed her goodbye like I had for the past 3 years. And I started thinking, Jennifer and I had been together since I was 39. Met through mutual friends at a backyard barbecue. She was 34 then. Marketing manager for a tech startup. Confident. Funny in that sharp way that makes you feel like you're in on the joke. Everyone said we were good together. Her parents loved me. My mother, who never approved of anyone, actually smiled when Jennifer walked into a room. The wedding was going to be big. 200 guests. Venue overlooking the bay. Jennifer had spent months planning it. Every detail mattered to her. The flowers, the seating chart, the specific shade of champagne for the centerpieces. She'd shown me fabric samples for napkins. Napkins. I'd nodded through all of it. Told her whatever made her happy. And now, 5 days out, the invitations were sent. The deposits were paid. Her dress was hanging in the spare bedroom, wrapped in protective plastic. Everything was ready. Day 4 before the wedding, we had dinner with her parents. Her father made a toast, talked about how proud he was, how he'd always hoped Jennifer would find someone steady. That was the word he used, steady. Jennifer squeezed my hand under the table. I smiled. Her mother asked if I was nervous. Cold feet yet? She joked. Not at all, I said. I've never been more sure of anything. And that was true. Let me tell you what most people don't understand about betrayal. It's not the act itself that destroys you. It's the calculation behind it. Jennifer hadn't stumbled into this. She'd planned it. The gym membership in March. The phone she hid. The messages sent while I was in the next room watching television. She'd looked at me every morning, kissed me, talked about honeymoon plans, and then texted him in the bathroom. That's not passion. That's strategy. And I started to wonder, what was I to her? Day 3 before the wedding, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went through our finances. We'd been splitting rent, utilities, groceries, everything equal, everything fair. That's what she'd wanted. Independence, she'd said. I'm not some 1950s housewife. Fine. But the wedding, that was different. Her parents covered the venue. My savings paid for the catering, the photographer, the band. $38,000 total. Almost everything I'd saved over the past decade. She'd insisted on an expensive honeymoon. Maldives, 2 weeks, another $12,000. This is our one big moment, she'd said. Let's do it right. I'd agreed. Now I opened the spreadsheet and just stared at the numbers. $50,000, 3 years of my life, and a woman who kept a second phone in a drawer. You'd think I'd be angry, and maybe I was, somewhere deep down. But what I felt most was curious. I wanted to see how far she'd go. Would she actually walk down that aisle, say those vows, smile for the photographer, cut the cake? Would she really do all of that, knowing what she knew? Day 2 before the wedding, my best man, Carl, pulled me aside. "You good?" he asked. We were at the rehearsal dinner. Jennifer was across the room, laughing with her bridesmaids. Looked perfect. Hair done, dress fitted, smile wide. "I'm good," I said. Carl studied me. We'd known each other since college, 20 years. He knew when something was off. "You sure? Because if you're having doubts—" "I'm not." He paused, then nodded. "All right. Just, you seem different." "How?" "Calmer." I smiled. "That's what getting married does to you." He laughed, clapped me on the back, didn't push further. Good. The wedding day came. I woke up at 6 a.m. in the hotel room I'd booked near the venue. Traditional, Jennifer had said. We shouldn't see each other before the ceremony. I put on my suit, fixed my tie, checked my reflection. I looked exactly like a man about to get married. The ceremony started at 4 p.m. 200 people filled the chairs overlooking the bay, string quartet playing something classical. Flowers everywhere, that specific shade Jennifer had obsessed over. I stood at the altar, Carl next to me. The officiant, some friend of Jennifer's family, smiled warmly. "Nervous?" he whispered. "No." And I wasn't. The music changed. Everyone stood, and Jennifer appeared at the end of the aisle. She looked beautiful. I'll give her that. White dress, long train, veil covering her face, her father's arm linked with hers. She walked slowly. Everyone watched. Cameras flashed. When she reached me, her father shook my hand, placed her hand in mine. "Take care of her," he said quietly. "I will," I promised. And Jennifer looked up at me through the veil, smiled that same smile I'd seen 1,000 times. For just a second, I wondered if she felt anything. Guilt, fear, anything. But her eyes were clear, confident. She thought she'd won. The vows happened. The officiant talked about love, commitment, partnership, all the usual words. Jennifer said, "I do." Didn't hesitate. Didn't blink. My turn came. 200 people waiting. Jennifer looking at me, her hand in mine. "I do," I said. The crowd erupted. Applause, cheers, tears from her mother. We kissed, brief, polite. "We did it," Jennifer whispered. "We did," I agreed. The reception was perfect. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. Carl told embarrassing stories about me. Jennifer's maid of honor cried through hers. We cut the cake, danced the first dance, posed for photos until my face hurt from smiling. Jennifer was radiant, in her element. This was her day, exactly as she'd planned it. Around 9 p.m., she pulled me aside near the bar. "I can't believe we're actually married," she said, tipsy, happy. "I can," I said. She kissed me. "I love you." "I know." Midnight came. The party wound down. Guests started leaving. Jennifer's parents hugged us both, crying with joy. "You two are perfect together," her mother said. We went back to the hotel. Jennifer collapsed on the bed, exhausted, makeup smeared, hair messy, still in her dress. "Best day of my life," she murmured. "Mine too," I said. She fell asleep within minutes. I sat in the chair by the window, watched her sleep, thought about what came next. The honeymoon was scheduled for 3 days later. Maldives, 2 weeks, overwater bungalow, $12,000. Jennifer woke up the next morning glowing. "Mrs. Parker," she said, testing out her new name. I smiled, said nothing. That afternoon, I told her I had to stop by the office. "Just a few things to wrap up before we leave." She barely looked up from her phone. "Okay, don't be long." I drove to the office, but I didn't go inside. I went to a law firm 3 blocks away. I'd made the appointment 4 days earlier, right after I found the phone. The lawyer's name was Patricia, late 50s, efficient, no nonsense. I'd brought documents, the marriage certificate, financial records, photos I'd taken of the messages on Jennifer's second phone. Patricia reviewed everything, didn't react, just nodded. "Annulment or divorce?" she asked. "Divorce." "Any specific terms?" I laid them out. Everything I wanted, everything I was entitled to, based on what I'd contributed, what I'd paid. "This is aggressive," Patricia said carefully. "Is it legal?" "Yes." "Then file it." She paused. "You want to serve her when?" "Tomorrow, before the honeymoon." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Jennifer got served at 10 a.m. the next morning. I wasn't there. I'd already moved out, taken my things, closed our joint accounts, transferred utilities to her name. Her sister called me first, screaming, incoherent. Then Jennifer's mother, demanding I explain. Then Jennifer herself. I didn't answer any of them. Here's what happened next. The divorce proceedings started immediately. Patricia was thorough. Every dollar I'd spent on the wedding, the honeymoon deposits, 3 years of shared expenses, all itemized, all documented. Jennifer fought it, hired a lawyer, called me every name you can imagine. But the messages on that second phone, the photos I'd taken, the timeline I'd built, her lawyer advised her to settle. She did. 6 months later, everything was finalized. I got back most of what I'd spent. Not all, but most. Jennifer moved to a different city, marketing job at another startup, deleted all her social media. Her parents stopped speaking to me. Carl asked me once if it was worth it. "Yes," I said. He didn't understand. Most people didn't. But here's what they missed. It wasn't about revenge, wasn't about the money, not really. It was about control. Jennifer thought she'd played me, thought she could have everything. The wedding, the marriage, the life we'd planned, while keeping Devin on the side. She thought I was steady, predictable, safe. She was right about all of that. But she forgot something. Steady doesn't mean stupid. So yeah, they told me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Marrying her? Maybe. But letting her think she'd gotten away with it. Right up until she hadn't? That was the plan all along. Would you have done the same? Or would you have walked away before the vows? Sometimes the strongest move is the one nobody sees coming. Sometimes patience isn't weakness. Sometimes it's precision.